I've been married 40 years. I know what I'm talking about. You're using the word incorrectly.
Yeah.
I assure you that you and your wife collaborate and you do not fight against each other in the relationship. You're not trying to win out over her and get her to lose. And as he thought about it, he said, well, no, of course. And I said, then it's not a compromise. I'm only telling you the word you're using is wrong. I'm not telling you what you did is wrong. Actually, if you've been married 40 years, clearly you've done it right. But the sad fact is you're using words that everybody has been throwing out there, and you glammed onto that word as if that's the correct word and never stopped and thought about, oh God, no, that is a horrific word. I don't want to compromise.
Right.
And I will tell you there again, this is something in the book, is how I took that to heart. And in one of the relationship, the one that ended right before I really went on this journey, I had compromised myself. I had stopped being who I was because I'd given up things that I really loved to do. I loved rollerblading. And in the beginning, we would go rollerblading. But after about 6 months, it was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, but this is literally who I am.
Yeah.
But no, because I believe the conventional wisdom, I compromised and I said, okay, I will have to give up something to be with you. At the end of the relationship, I'd given up so much that I didn't know me anymore.
Right.
That's what was the hardest part, was when you're ending a relationship, you've lost yourself in the relationship.
Yeah.
And so that was devastating. I was like, who am I? What is there about me that is me? And so I started rollerblading again, and I will never stop. And there isn't a person in the world who's going to say, well, we need to. No, time out, baby. Because I figured something else about that out is it's not having things in common. I'm going to kind of save that one for you. So I'm going to set you up. We're going to have so much of a discussion that you're going to invite me back.
Well, I love this topic, and it is so important. I think especially to discuss it in this way, like challenge those things that we just take for granted because we heard them since we've been kids and we just assume them to be factual, and you're breaking all that apart, which I love that. And I think, so why do you, we've kind of touched on it, but other than the obvious that we're brought up with this information, or maybe this is something that's been parroted by magazines, movies, teachers. Why do you think people really believe this bad advice? Is it just because is it easier to believe it? Is it because it's just more available, or is there any secret to that? Or is it just as simple as it's just all people know?
Well, again, so I think that a lot of people are not taught how to make decisions, because I know I wasn't. So we aren't taught how to go in search of the why and the how, and we are taught to focus on the what. And so, yes, when people in authority, we believe, tell us this is what you should do, we don't tend to question it. I didn't.
Right.
Well, how did I end up in that position? Well, because I didn't question. I thought, oh, you people know what you're doing. You've been doing it forever. But then I took a step back and I was like, wait a minute, I need to ask why and how. I need to get a better understanding of where this came from. And that's when I started realizing it's like, oh no, you've got this wrong. And you simply listen to the previous generation who listened to the previous generation. And not one of you has taken a step back and said, time out, why and how.
Right.
The other thing you haven't done is, and this is really funny to me too, if we believe the statistic that something like 50% of marriages fail. I don't know about you, but 50% is literally a coin toss.
Yeah.
It's random. It's heads or tails. What that means to me is no one is actually being taught how to be in a relationship. It's simply luck of the draw. Well, then all this conventional wisdom could go out the window. I don't need to do any of it because it's simply, I stumble into it and maybe it works and maybe it doesn't, and I want to go beyond that. Like you said, I'm into projects and analyzing and formulae, so there needs to be guidance. And that's where I don't want to lead anybody. I'm not the Pied Piper. I'm not going to lead you in your relationship. But I want to give you the guidance. I want to, again, analyze these things for you and explain it to you in simple terms. Like you said, you'll read it in the book and you'll be like, well, duh, Jer. what you're not telling me anything I didn't know. Yeah, I know. I'm only putting it in terms that you will then see it so obviously and glaringly to go, oh yeah, that's true. Why was I doing that? Well, because you were following everyone else. They were leading you. I don't want to lead you. I
Yeah.
want to guide you and just give you that guidance to say, hey, don't do this, do that. And you have to have both. I have to tell you what not to do because, dismiss what you've learned. But I do obviously then have to tell you what to do because otherwise I'm leaving you in the wilderness. It's like, okay, yeah, don't eat this plant. See ya. It's like, yeah, but what can I eat now?
Yeah, then what do I do?
Like,
yeah.
How do I survive out here in the wilderness? It's like, well, okay, I'm not going to tell you which plants to eat, but I can tell you what to look for. I can tell you, oh, look at this or look at that. And these are clues that will help you. And then guess what? You get to make your own decisions in your own relationship. Because that's the other thing I found out was if I'm listening to everyone else, it's not my relationship. It's their relationship.
Right.
They're dictating to me, well, Jerry, do this. Okay. Is that what I wanted? Well, no one asked me, but I have to do it.
No one has all the facts. Like no one has all the facts of the story. Like there's so many outliers that you could never, ever, it's not a formula as much as it would be easier if it was. It simply is not because there's too many factors that are going on that nobody could possibly know. And there's those experiences that you feel internally that maybe means one thing to you, but to me means a completely different thing. And there's all of that going on too.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. And that's why I like to say, yeah, on the one hand, it's not literally a formula. It's not so easy, which is another reason we can get off into why dating apps don't work. Hello. Okay. That's another hour-long session we can talk about. But there is understanding of how the world works and how people work. Mm-hmm. And you need to have that in order to make good decisions.
Right.
So yeah, I can't make decisions for you. You don't want me to, and I don't want to. But I can guide you along the way and say, okay, you need to look at this and you need to think about this. Like I said, you need to write this stuff down so that you remember, because you know what's going to happen? A year from now, you're going to look at me and go, why do I like you? I don't know. I assumed you did. Well, hopefully you wrote it down because then you can remind yourself, oh yeah, he's got these qualities. And then you can ask again, does he still have those qualities? Do I still see those qualities? Were those real? Have I done anything to maybe help those qualities or, reassure him? If you're not giving me feedback to tell me, hey, Jerry, I really like when you do this. Well, then it's hit or miss. I may never do that again. Right. I need you to tell me, hey, keep doing this. Dude, stop doing that, please. Right. Okay, we can work with that. Again, that's not a compromise because we're collaborating to work together to see how we can get this to work. Right.
And both people have a say in it. If somebody suggests, if your desire is you want to find a partner that loves to rollerblade, and that is one of your, like, you want that in a relationship, but then you meet somebody who doesn't want to rollerblade ever, and that they're like heck no for that. I mean, then.
Okay. I'm going to surprise you here because that's not the right thing. Again, conventional wisdom tells you have to have things in common. You don't. Here's what you need. You need someone who supports you. Yes. And what I mean by that is you don't need to rollerblade with me, but you cannot ask me to stop rollerblading. When I need to go rollerblading, you have to be supportive and go, great, see ya. Hey, Jerry, I saw these new rollerblades over here. I don't want them, but do you want them?
Yeah.
If you're my support mechanism, you don't need to literally go out there. Okay, so I used to go rollerblading, and I had a buddy who he biked. So we would drive to the park together, park side by side. We would start out, obviously on rollerblades. I'm not going nearly as fast as he is, but we would stick together for the first 5 minutes just to chat and chat and chat. How's your day going? What's going on? Yada, yada, yada. Okay, see ya. He'd take off. I'd do my loops. He'd do his. And at the end, after about an hour or so, we would meet back up at the cars. We were in the park together. So we were enjoying the park, but not literally holding hands, not side by side, but we were both enjoying the park together. I knew he was there. He knew I was there. We came back together. We ended together, and then we would drive to lunch and sit and then talk at lunch together. So we were at the park together, yet not. And so this idea that we have to literally do the same exact thing in common, that's another conventional wisdom that's false.
I agree with you on that. But I guess what I was referencing was, though, if your desire is, I want to find a partner who wants to rollerblade because I want to be with my partner in rollerblade. Like that's important to me. Same with camping or mountain biking or whatever it is. Like if your desire is to find a partner who, because I think you even mentioned in the book about skydiving. Like if you want to go, like, because I think you were talking about getting out there to do different things to meet other people.
Yes,
and if you find somebody who loves to skydive and you're only trying it and you end up meeting there and then they want to go keep skydiving, but you don't want to do that. Is that necessary? You know what I mean? I know you have a whole
that's
story
exactly
around
what
that.
I was saying. It was literally the same thing with my rollerblading.
Right.
I rollerbladed. And so this person decided that she would join what I was doing, but she was just a tourist. So she didn't live there.
Yeah.
And so, tourists can love your country and love your city and all that, but they don't live there. And so they don't see it in the same way that you do.
Right.
And at the end of the day, they're leaving. They're going to move on and go somewhere else. So that's not a long-term relationship. It's not going to pan out that way. Again, that person's going to turn to the skydiver and go, hey, you know what? Yeah, I like trying it. It was fun, but it's not who I am. Let's go do something else because I like trying different things.
Right.
Yeah, but no, I'm skydiving because this is who I am.
This is my thing.
Honestly, I'd be scared to death.
I know I'm scared of heights, so it's not. But for the people that it is, and the whole point is, and I think that goes back to your needs and wants, like we talked about, and 100%. The communication. Because if you really desire a partner who wants to do the same things as you, that's okay. But it's also what you're saying. Also, it's also okay to have a partner that doesn't do everything that you do, as long as they're supporting you in what it is that you love to do.
There again, they need to support you, and whether you want them to share with you is your desire, right? And that's a different thing. Exactly. Right. So at the very least, I need you to support me. Now, if I want you to come with me, then yes, that's something added. Right. And I would then look for someone who wants to do that activity with me.
Right.
And so that's great. But don't put all your eggs into we have to have something in common or we have to do the same things, because that's not true. I don't know. You go to the gym, you work out. Oh, well, everybody at the gym is working out. So apparently you're in a relationship with all of them because you all have something in common.
Right.
Really?
Right.
I'm dating every guy and girl at the gym just because we like to work out together.
Right.
Thank you, but no, thank you.
Yeah.
We're not in that kind of relationship.
Like when we start to think, like pick these things apart, like, you've done in the book, and let's move into the app too. I want to talk about that a little bit. So your app is the Good Together game app. So tell us about that, because I know all of this kind of intertwines with your experience, with your research. So tell us about that.
Okay. So there again. And so like I say, I'm the only author who wrote a book, but didn't write a book, because I really just took notes about myself and was like, someone told me, hey, there's a book. And I understand it. I've been to seminars for business and everything, and they sound great. And 5 minutes outside the seminar, I'm like, okay, how can I use this? How can I implement it? And I'm like, oh, this was nothing more than a motivational speech. Right. This person didn't give me anything actionable. And so, I had written the book. I'd started my website. I've got some videos on YouTube where I try to explain things to people. But then I was like, look, I need something that's truly actionable, that is very easy and a low bar, but has a real impact. And I thought about it, and I was like, there again, I went to false conventional wisdom. Oh, you have to have a date night and spend all this time together. Yeah. No, you don't. You're focusing on the wrong thing. You need to pivot and change your perspective and your focus. Your focus isn't on these grand things. You're not going to enjoy work because you get a promotion once in a while. Work is an everyday thing.
Right.
Relationships are every day. So I said, okay, yes, I need to engage people every day. There again, people get bogged down with, because I've had this happen. I don't mind this. So I don't want this to sound wrong. But if I'm sitting in my office, I've had guys come in, take an hour and a half, sit there and just talk.
Right.
People are in need of communicating with each other and making a bond and a connection. And then that same guy will come in the next week and tell me a lot of the same